Tent shakes. Not from wind. From footsteps. Heavy, official footsteps crossing the compound in polished black shoes that do not belong at a wedding. The drummers stop mid-beat. The kola nut tray freezes in an usher's hands. A child's laughter dies in her throat. A government official stands at the entrance, a folder pressed under his arm like a weapon.
Whoever sent you has come to ruin what God has already blessed.
Mommy, why has everyone gone quiet?
She does not know yet. Rewind. 3 years. The village of Umuka wakes slowly, smoke curling from breakfast fires, goats complaining outside compound walls, women balancing water without spilling a drop. Roosters call from 3 directions at once, competing rather than cooperating. In one kitchen, a pot boils too hard. Mama Adaku grips the handle with a cloth wrapped twice around her palm. Steam bites her face. She does not flinch. She has not flinched at heat, at grief, at loss, in 11 years. Her wrapper is the same orange and blue print she has worn to market every Saturday since her husband's burial. Her husband died owing nothing and trusting everyone. That was his mistake. His partner smiled at his funeral and vanished with what remained of his business 3 weeks later. She buried a good man and learned, standing over his grave, that smiles are currency spent by liars. She built a wall from that lesson and called the wall protection. Her daughter, Nkem, stirs a smaller pot beside her, 24 years old, a laugh the neighbors still ask after like an old friend who moved away. Now it only escapes in small doses, checked at the door of her mother's disapproval. Mama, Chuka's brother asked if he could visit this weekend. The spoon stops. Which one is Chuka's brother? The one who volunteers at the children's ward. Emeka. Mama Adiku's laugh is short, without joy. A man who spends his money on strangers' children has none left for a wife. Mama. I said what I said. Nkem's hands go still over the pot. Steam curls between them, carrying the smell of pepper soup neither of them will taste with any appetite tonight. Emeka arrives Saturday in his best shirt, ironed twice, oranges in one hand and hope in the other. He has rehearsed this greeting since Thursday, adjusting the words until they sounded neither too eager nor too stiff. He kneels slightly, greets her properly, calls her mama with the respect their culture demands. She looks him over the way one inspects meat at the market, searching for rot beneath the surface, turning it until she finds the angle that proves her suspicion right. You work with sick children. For free. Some of my time, yes, more. A man who gives his time away for nothing will one day give away everything that belongs to his own family. I will not watch my daughter starve while you save the world. Nkem's sister-in-law, standing near the kitchen doorway with a pot still in her grip, cannot hold back a short, disbelieving laugh at how quickly kindness becomes an accusation in this house. She claps a hand over her mouth too late. The compound goes silent. Nkem stares at the ground, fingers twisting the edge of her blouse. Emeka's onji sit forgotten on the table. He leaves without eating one, without looking back, without ever visiting again. Nkem cries into her wrapper that night, quiet enough that no one hears, except someone always hears in a house this small. A respectable young man walks away wounded, and a mother believes she's protected her daughter. Would you have let Emeka in? Comment below. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. Word travels fast in Umuka. Faster than harvest news. By the time the next suitor arrives, half the village already expects him to fail. Obinna raised his 3 younger siblings alone after their parents died in a motor accident, working 2 jobs before he turned 20 rather than send the children away. His hands are raw from years of loading trucks at dawn before his second shift at a printing press. He has never once complained about it. So you have no time for a wife, Mama Adaku says, arms folded, eyes narrowing at every kind detail he offers as though generosity itself were a confession. Your siblings will always come first. He leaves quietly, the way defeated men do. He does not return. Months later, a carpenter named Techuku arrives, the kind of man who rebuilds roofs for widows before sunrise, arriving with borrowed tools and leaving only after the rain would no longer find a way inside. A man with rough hands has a rough future, she tells Nkem afterward, pacing the small parlor. What will he offer you, splinters? Mama, he builds homes for people who have nothing. Doesn't that tell you? It tells me he is either a fool or pretending to be one until people trust him enough to take something valuable. There is no version of goodness her mother will not find a flaw inside. The village women gather at the stream with baskets on their hips, voices lowered but not lowered enough for the wind to keep the secret. That woman will bury her daughter unmarried. She has buried enough already. Maybe she doesn't want to bury hope too. Then she is doing a poor job of protecting it. Inside the compound, Nkem stops mentioning suitors altogether. At night she presses her face into her pillow so no one hears what grief sounds like with nowhere left to go. Some evenings she sits at the window long after the compound goes dark, watching other women's husbands return home, wondering what it feels like to be met at a gate by someone who chose to stay. One evening, after Tochukwu is turned away, Nkem finally says what she has swallowed for years. You didn't lose Papa to a good man, Mama. You lost him to a bad one. Every man who comes to this gate pays for a debt he never owed. Mama Adaku's hand steals on the pot. For one long moment, something in her face wavers, a crack, quickly sealed. You are young. You don't understand what protects you. Then teach me, Mama. Don't just decide for me. Her mother turns back to the fire without answering. It is the closest thing to a retreat Mama Adaku has offered in 11 years, and neither of them acknowledges it as one.
Nkem does not argue further. But she says it. That much, at least, she has finally said out loud, and the saying of it sits between them for days afterward, unresolved, a small stone dropped into still water, its ripples still moving long after the surface looks calm again. Months become years. Nkem's friends marry one by one, she attends their weddings in borrowed lace, smiling for photographs, swallowing something bitter each time the drum starts, dancing when expected, clapping when expected, no one at these celebrations knowing what each smile cost her. Then, on an ordinary Tuesday, a man walks into the market square wearing a suit too clean for the dust around him, greeting elders by name he was never told, remembering details no stranger should remember, shaking hands as though he has lived among them for years rather than minutes. Something in Mama Adaku's chest, guarded for over a decade, quietly begins to loosen. Nkem finally speaks the truth her mother refuses to hear. Drop your comments, was Nkem right to challenge her mother, or disrespectful? Subscribe now. Barinze does not enter a room. He arrives in it, the way a season arrives, announced by everyone before you even see it yourself. A businessman, successful in ways the village can only estimate through the cut of his cloth and the shine of his car. He speaks softly, the kind of soft that makes people lean in rather than look away. He quotes scripture fluently, effortlessly, as if it lives inside him rather than something memorized for effect. Elders offer him the good chairs, the cold drinks. The pastor announces his donations from the pulpit, and the congregation nods approvingly, the way people nod at things they have already decided to admire. When he visits Mama Adaku's compound, the gifts are modest and precise, a wrapper for her folded with care, wildflowers rather than showy imported roses, collar not broken exactly according to custom without a single misstep. Mama Adaku watches him the way she has watched every suitor before him, searching for the crack in the wall. She finds none. You give to the church, she says. Quietly, Ma. It isn't mine to boast about. Why haven't you married before now? Barinze lowers his eyes, almost bashful, fingers tracing the rim of his cup. I was waiting, Ma. For a family like this one. Her shoulders lower. Something that has not moved since her husband's funeral softens. There is one moment, small, easy to miss, when a child at the compound gate calls him by the wrong name, an accident, a mix-up with another visitor. Barinze's smile does not break, but his eyes flick toward the gate a fraction too fast, a fraction too sharp, before he laughs it off warmly, ruffling the child's hair. No one notices. Nkem almost does, then decides she imagined it. He remembers Nkem's favorite fabric collar after hearing it once. He tells her, under the mango tree, that her laugh reminds him of Harmattan wind, rare, worth waiting for. He asks about her dreams, the small joys she folded away and stopped offering to men who never stayed long enough to receive them. For the first time in years, Nkem laughs and the sound surprises even her. Mama Adaku overhears it from the kitchen and stands very still, listening, the way one listens to rain after a long drought. Word spreads through Omuka, Mama Adaku has finally approved someone. Wedding plans begin within weeks. Elders pour libation beneath the ancient tree where every important decision in Umuka has been sealed for generations. Nkem's friends tease her gently over lace samples for how long happiness took to arrive. For the first time since her father's death, joy moves through the compound without suspicion trailing behind it. But not everyone is celebrating. At the market's edge, seated on a low stool, an elderly widow watches Barinze's car pass, and her hands go still around her walking stick. She lost her own husband to illness, not deception, but she sat with a friend in Nui through the year. A smooth-talking man vanished with her savings and her dignity, leaving 2 children who stopped asking about their father because their mother taught them not to. Her eyes narrow. She has seen that face before. Under another name. No amount of new tailoring can change the shape of a man's jaw when he lies. She sits with the memory a long while before deciding what, if anything, she owes this village that never asked for her warning. Everyone in Umuka has fallen for Barinze, everyone except one old woman whose memory refuses to be fooled by a clean suit. And one small crack, missed by everyone, already told the truth. Did you catch the moment Barinze almost slipped? Comment where you spotted it. The widow finds Nkem alone at the well, 2 days before the wedding, her wrapper dusty from the long walk across the village. I know that man. Years ago, in Nui, he had another name. Another wife. 2 children who no longer ask about him because their mother taught them not to. Her hands tremble, not from age but from the weight of memory. I sat with that woman through her worst year, the year the debts came due and the neighbors stopped visiting. Are you certain? People change faces, madam, but surely not this much. A face like his does not change. Only the name does. I would know that smile in my sleep. Nkem carries the warning home like fire, afraid of what it might burn if she sets it down wrong. Mama Adaku's reaction is immediate, sharp as a slap. That old woman is jealous, she snaps, slamming a pot lid down harder than necessary. Bitter women invent stories about good men. Mama, what if she's telling the truth? Would you throw away the first good thing in this house in years for gossip? She wasn't gossiping. She was warning me. Enough, Nkem. The widow tries the church elders next, standing small and unshaken in front of men twice her size in status, her walking stick planted firmly on the concrete floor of the meeting hall. She is old, one elder murmurs, not quietly enough. Perhaps her memory confuses one man for another. I raised 4 children and buried a husband, the widow says. My memory has never once failed me on the things that mattered. The pastor defends Barinze, citing the new church roof his donations made possible only that year, reminding the room how the choir sang louder the Sunday it was finished. No one in the room seems willing to trade a finished roof for an old woman's warning. The widow straightens her wrapper, looks at each face in the room, lingering longest on the pastor's, and says the only thing she came to say.
Ruth does not hurry. But it always arrives. Then she leaves, leaning on her stick, silence trailing behind her thicker than the words themselves. Preparations continue as though nothing happened. Canopies rise in orange and green stripes. Chickens are slaughtered, their feathers gathered by children paid in coins. Guests arrive from neighboring villages, voices bright with anticipation. Nkem tries her wedding wrapper one final time, turning slowly in front of the cracked mirror, searching her reflection for the doubt the widow planted. It sits there still, small and cold, refusing to be reasoned away. She thinks of the words she said to her mother months ago, "You lost him to a bad one, not a good one," and wonders, quietly, whether she has just done exactly what she warned her mother against, trusting a smile too quickly. She says nothing. She wants, more than anything, for her mother to finally be right. Drums begin at dawn. The compound fills with color and noise, aunties directing caterers, children chasing each other between chairs, the smell of frying meat drifting over the fence. For a few hours, the doubt in Nkem's chest goes quiet beneath the noise of celebration. Then a car no one recognizes pulls up at the gate. Men in uniform step out. No one knows why. Not yet. Drop a comment, was the widow right, or just a bitter old woman? Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications for more stories like this. The officer from earlier, the one whose footsteps silenced the drummers, steps forward, folder pressed beneath his arm. Mama Adaku plants herself in front of him like a wall. Whoever sent you has come to ruin what God has blessed. Madam, we are here for the groom. Not the wedding. The folder opens. Photographs. A different name beside a familiar face, the same soft eyes, now stripped of context and dressed in the code language of fraud. Property fraud investigation. Multiple identities confirmed. Additional families located in 3 states. The compound, so loud only minutes before, falls into a silence so complete the goats outside seem to steal their movement. A caterer's spoon clatters against a pot somewhere behind the canopy. Barinze's composure cracks at the shoulders, then the mouth, then completely. I can explain. You may explain it to the court. The details unravel, merciless and complete. Barinze abandoned 2 families before this one, each time under a different name, each time leaving children who grew up asking questions their mothers learned to stop answering. His generous church donations, celebrated from the pulpit only weeks earlier, traced back to stolen investment funds. Every gift, every quoted scripture, every soft-spoken kindness, a costume, worn expertly, discarded whenever it stopped serving him. Even the wildflowers, Nkem now realizes, cost him nothing and revealed everything, the calculated cheapness of a man who understood exactly how much sincerity he needed to fake, and not a cent more. The wedding stops mid-breath. Guests who arrived in their finest clothes stand frozen, unsure whether to leave or stay, whether to comfort or simply witness. The pastor who defended Barinze days earlier stares at his own hands as though they no longer belong to him, the memory of his own words about the church roof suddenly unbearable to recall. Mama Adaku stands frozen in the middle of the compound, the photographs burned into her memory. She rejected Emeka, who gave his time to sick children. She rejected Obina, who raised siblings that weren't his own. She rejected Tochukwu, who rebuilt homes for widows with nothing. And she defended, without a single doubt, the only man among them wearing a mask. Her knees nearly give beneath her. For the first time in 11 years, she reaches for a chair instead of standing on pride alone. For one brief moment, the old instinct rises, this is not my fault, I was deceived, anyone would have believed him, and she almost says it out loud. She catches herself. The excuse dies in her throat, unspoken, and something heavier than shame takes its place, the plain, unavoidable fact that she chose this, guest by guest, rejection by rejection, for 3 years. Nkem does not scream. She does not collapse. She simply removes her wedding headpiece, sets it down on the nearest table, and walks quietly toward the gate, her wrapper dragging slightly in the dust. She does not look back. Officers lead Barinze away past untouched plates of jollof rice, past silent drummers, past the mango tree where the widow once tried to warn a village that would not listen. The widow herself stands at the edge of the crowd, not triumphant, only tired, the particular tiredness of someone who wished, more than anything, that she'd been wrong. Mama Adaku watches her daughter walk away and, for the first time since her husband's funeral, does not know what to say. Everyone expects her to disappear into anger, into denial, into the same fortress of pride that built this entire tragedy. Instead, she does something no one could have imagined. The mask falls in front of everyone. But the greatest shock isn't Barinze's arrest, it's the moment Mama Adaku almost excuses herself, and doesn't. If you were Mama Adaku, could you have resisted the excuse? The compound empties slowly that evening. Canopies come down. Chairs stack against the wall. The smell of uneaten jollof rice lingers long after guests have gone home to whisper the story to their own families. Mama Adaku sits alone beneath the mango tree until the moon rises, and when she finally moves, it is not toward her bed. It is toward Emeka's family compound. She arrives at his gate the following morning, unannounced, her girly modest, her hands empty of pride for the first time in years. She has not slept. Her eyes carry the particular weight of a woman who spent the night rebuilding, brick by brick, everything she thought she knew about herself. I came to apologize, she says, voice steady despite the effort it cost her. I judged your son by a fear that belonged to me, not to him. He deserved better from this house. Emeka's mother studies her for a long moment. He has since married a good woman from Owerri. But I accept your words. They are late. They are still true. Mama Adaku does not soften the truth to protect herself. She accepts it the way medicine must sometimes be accepted, bitter, but necessary. She visits Obina next, where he sits nursing his younger sibling's school fees over a cup of tea, surprised into silence by her presence at his gate. Then Tachuku's small workshop, where sawdust still coats the floor and half-finished roof beams lean against the wall.
Some families forgive her outright, moved by the courage it takes for a proud woman to kneel. Others remain cold, telling her plainly that an apology cannot undo what her words cost them. She accepts every response the same way, without argument, without excuse, without the old instinct to protect her wounded pride. Humility, she is learning, does not ask to be rewarded. It only asks to be honest. Nkem watches her mother's transformation from a careful distance, unsure whether to trust it completely. Trust is not rebuilt in a single season, and she has spent too many years learning to guard her own hope to hand it over so quickly. But slowly, in the quiet space between one apology and the next, something between them softens too, a shared pot of stew one evening, no argument passing between them. A small thing. The first small thing in years. Months later, Nkem finds herself reconnecting with Tachuku, not through her mother's arrangement, but through her own choosing. A greeting at the market. A shared laugh over nothing important. He tells her about a widow's roof he just finished before the rains came. She tells him, for the first time in years, about dreams she stopped voicing out loud. There is no rush toward romance, no forced ending stitched together for convenience. Only two people learning each other again, slowly, honestly, without suspicion standing between them. He never once brings up the rejection her mother handed him years earlier, and she notices that he doesn't need to. Some men carry disappointment without letting it curdle into resentment. Whether it becomes more, only time will tell. For now, it is enough that Nkem laughs freely again, the full, unguarded laugh she had folded away for years, and her mother, watching from the doorway, no longer searches for the crack beneath it. The village elder gathers the compound beneath the ancient tree one final evening, elders and neighbors and children seated in a wide circle as the sun lowers behind the hills, painting the compound walls a deep amber. He speaks slowly, the way old men speak when they want their words to outlive the moment. A heart ruled by fear mistakes goodness for danger, and deception for safety. The strongest home is not built by finding perfect people. It is built by learning to recognize honest hearts. Mama Adaku sits among the listeners, no longer at the center of every conversation, no longer guarding the gate against every smiling stranger. She listens the way the rest of the village listens, humbled, attentive, finally at peace with not knowing everything. She thinks, briefly, of the wall she built 11 years ago beside her husband's grave, brick by brick, calling it protection. She does not tear it down in a single evening. But for the first time, she leaves the gate unlatched. Somewhere behind her, Nkem smiles quietly into the evening air. For the first time in a very long while, that smile belongs entirely to her. Mama Adaku's fear cost her daughter years of joy, but through humility, not punishment, she rebuilds what pride nearly destroyed. What's one lesson you are taking from this story? I read every comment. Subscribe now for more powerful African storytelling that hits straight to the heart. New story drops soon.